way that if there is a transfer happening of a running business as a going concern, lock, stock and barrel, and agreement also accordingly, in that case, it is deemed as no supply. Unless, so it is excluded. And second exclusion is business is carried on by a personal representative who is deemed to be a taxable person. Maybe that I have appointed somebody to carry on business. I am not well, I am going foreign country for some period, somebody appointed. Right? But it is a taxable person, so ultimately he will, when he will be selling transfer property, and all that tax will be there. But as a business going concern, this clause says not to be taxed. Let us refer to the next clause. Goods or assets of a business transferred or disposed of, whether or not for a consideration. Very general term used. And when something says, I am very simple, you have to doubt. Simple statements are sometimes having a hidden meaning to that. I am with you. That means, goods or assets of a business are transferred or disposed of, whether or not for consideration. Now, my question is, transfer of assets while transferring business as a going concern can be covered here. So if any one of the clauses covered, supply as goods. That means this clause may lead me to whatever goods I had, business assets, and I transfer my business as a going concern to another firm or a company. This is nothing but happening, supply. Pay tax on that. I'll have to pay tax. Fine. Now let us see what they are treating it as services. I have 10 minutes with me. I'll try to complete. 7 slides are there, not more. And I'll try to finish, but if I am given 5-10 minutes more, if permitted, I'll be obliged. Following us up, because I want to explain you exactly what it wants to convey. This is a backbone. Well, so now the lawmaker says, whatever earlier we said in the Schedule 2 are goods, supply of goods treated as supply of goods, all provisions relating to that will apply to that type of transactions. Now we say what will be the services. Fine, let us see what it says. Transfer of right to use any goods for any purpose. So today what I understand as a deemed sale is now treated as deemed service in GST law. Right? Unlearn what you have learned, relearn. Right? Transfer of goods or of right in goods or of undivided share in goods without transfer of title thereof. So in earlier clause it says transfer right to use goods. So we were arguing I am not transferring right to use, it is just transfer of goods, permissions given, all gone now. They say even this will be treated as service. Right? So hire of goods is now deemed as service. Now one important question arises. Very interesting, stock transfer. And read this particular clause. I stock transfer the goods. So there is a transfer of goods from me to him, say. Without transfer of title thereof, service. So the question to ponder upon is whether stock transfer of this apparently is goods. This is goods. So I am stock transferring goods. So goods provision should apply. But reading this clause, it says transfer of goods without transfer of title is service. So I don't know what. So the officer will say wherever higher tax is payable you pay. I will say wherever lower payable I will pay. I do not know what the court of law, based on argument of Joshi sir, the court will decide. Right? So we'll have to again go to the court. Well, temporary transfer of permitting use or enjoyment of any IPR. So I say that my brand Patanjali is there, which is now transferred to somebody, a use. I am not transferring right to use, maybe I say that temporary transfer or enjoying that particular IPR is a service. So all this, what we were treating it as a deemed sale, are now becoming service. And here maybe that IPR itself, they have treated it as a service, because intangible property is not goods, service. So this is so good, one way good. Development or design customization, upgradation of a software, service. We were arguing that upgradation, customization, it's not liable to, there is no transfer property and all that, but all have gone now. Forget all the concepts of 4 pillars of the law, sale, consideration, 2 parties, everything is gone. Relearn the things. Lease or tenancy, lease of what? License to occupy land. See, license to occupy land, renting of immovable property, maybe commercial or residential or factory, maybe along with fitted with plant and machinery, is deemed service. Apply the provision to this transaction, whatever are there, for services, not for the goods. Letting out the building, including commercial or so, residential complex, so and so, either wholly or partly, deemed service. So all this are 6, maybe transfer of right to use or just permission given. All those now differences have gone. I do not know why they could not have made 1 or 2 clauses, 6, because there were 6 persons to draft this law. Next is any treatment or process applied to another person's goods, right? So pure services. So when I give the goods for some process, services. Works contract. Works contract is again defined in the GST law, and it says including transfer property in goods, whether as goods or in some other form involved in execution of works contract. Same definition, right? Now this is a service. So works contract till date, what we say deemed sale, very simple, now say deemed service in GST. Now, very important point. Intention of a contract, whether in GST is given a go by, and if a contract is divisible or indivisible. Right? There is one contract having 2 parts, part A and part B. Part A qua supply of goods, part B qua supply of services, having mentioned about each rates for each items. And I say as a taxpayer that sir, this is my indivisible contract, and as this is an indivisible works contract, and this clause says it's a deemed service, so I have applied the provision qua services. Officer will say no. I treat this as divisible contract, and whatever goods you have supplied, I treat it as supply of goods, and I treat supply of services as separate, and qua supply of goods I will apply the provisions qua supply. And let us now await and listen the other speakers qua place of supply and what complications can arise. I am drawing your attention to some issues. Think of a works contract, interstate works contract. Just pause here, forget it now. And what can happen? I have treated it as a deemed service, entire consideration of say 1 crore, and the officer says no, supply of goods is separate and supply of service is separate, and what chaos will happen, I do not know. Well, construction of a complex building and so on, so it says even during construction phase there is a sale happening, so they want to be very cautious. So the proper provision put that if we will not tax it, provided except where entire consideration is received, issuance of completion certificate and so on. But they have forgotten that sale of a flat is a deemed service. Yet they say except, but what the use of that except? Right? So I doubt. So completion service. So wherever the provisions are not there, law is not there qua issuing any completion certificate, and in that case it says before its first occupation or consideration received, whichever is earlier. And then accordingly it will be applied qua these services. Term construction also includes remodeling of existing civil structure. Maybe renovations, alterations, everything is covered. Service of food and non-alcoholic drinks. So whatever till date we are understanding and applying the law of consuming the food and drinks in a restaurant or a hotel, it's a deemed sale. Now it is treated as deemed service. Other than alcoholic liquor, fine. Business goods, assets put to any private use or making available for private use, whether or not for a consideration, right? Some general clauses, everything is there, yet they put some general clause. So they don't want to give any chance to a taxpayer to argue that no, now this is not covered. Agreeing to the obligation to refrain from an act or to tolerate an act or a situation or to do an act. Suppose somebody tells me that from tomorrow you stop practicing on the sales tax law and I give you, or on the GST law, let us come in GST law, and I give you 10 crores of rupees and I stop my practice. This is supply. Read it. Agreeing to the obligation to refrain from an act. I will not practice. Or I tolerate. I tolerate somebody. You are tolerating me, listening, whatever I say is a supply. And it's a service. Okay. To do an act or so. Subject to Schedule 2 above, central government and state government may, upon recommendation of GST Council, specify by notification transactions that are to be treated as supply of goods or services or neither. Right? That means, ऊपर जो सब बोला है, और अगर GST Council कुछ recommend करेगी, तो both governments, central as well as state, may means option given. Some state will accept, some state will not accept. Autonomy, freedom, right? Simplicity we want to bring, but whether it will come, I doubt. We saw in the last GST Council meeting what happened. They could not conclude on the tax rate. They could not conclude on the compensation mechanism. What will happen? And if the law is passed and implemented in this manner, today when we have a thought that whether excise can be levied today, same way when GST will be levied, I do not know chaos. And I do not know how the international world will look at us. We want to go at good, but at least prepare yourself properly. Now here all the powers are given and all that, and then say even neither. So tomorrow you may have a provision stating that this activity is neither supply of goods nor supply of services. Maybe for exemption, maybe giving tax, 0. Maybe for that purpose, but it is there. Fine. This is very important. Now here we will devote 3 minutes or so. Where an agent for an agreed commission or brokerage either supplies or receives, so either supply from principal to agent or backward agent to principal, receipt or supply of any goods or services on behalf of principal. So whatever agents does on my behalf either receives or supplies is covered. Transaction between the principal and agent shall be deemed to be a supply. Right? So now agents and principal are two separate persons under the GST law. Agent is again defined to cover all types of person, factor, broker and everything. Right? Fine. Supply to other person. So it says supply to other person, to an agent also. Supply to self, question mark. I am not saying much on this. Supply within state, supply to other state. Agent is there in other state, or my agent is there at other country. What will happen? Right? Let us await for the other speakers to listen from them. Tax liability, in this case, I appoint my agent, I supply my goods to him, and he has to finally sell the goods to a person, customer. he charges CGST and SGST in his invoice. He does not pay tax to the government, whether government will take tax from me. I tried to search the provision, I could not find. So now it seems that in GST law, both are separate. Both are separate means, if he does not pay tax, I need not worry. Right? So I don't know what will happen. Valuation issues will arise. When I supply the goods to an agent at a price, valuation issues are to arise. Because I may put any value. Authorities will challenge any value. Even if less or more, he will say no. When I used to say, sir, it's a works contract, he said, no, sale contract. When I say, sir, it's a sale contract, no, it's a works contract. So same way, issues will arise. Further, when I am now to say on levy and collection of these taxes, it says tax shall be paid by every taxable person. Now who is taxable person? Right? Taxable person is a person who carries on business, and Schedule 3 also has enumeration. Central government or state government authority shall be treated as taxable person in respect of activities or transactions in which they are engaged as public authorities other than mentioned in Schedule 4. So whatever is mentioned in Schedule 4 will not be treated as taxable supply or a supply by a taxable person, but other activities of government will also be treated as supplied by taxable person. Following persons shall not be treated as taxable persons. An employee to his employer. So good. So employer-employee relationship are treated as not a separate two taxable persons. So though they are separate, but it will not be treated as a, so his service is rendered to me, he will not be liable to pay tax on that. Fine. Any person engaged in business or exclusively supplying goods or services that are not liable to tax. That means if somebody is engaged in all tax-free supplies, he will not be treated as taxable person for all the purposes of the law. Any person liable to pay tax on reverse charge basis as provided, receiving services of value not exceeding a particular limit in a financial year for personal use other than business. Mind well, this clause does not apply to business. So in business, if reverse charge mechanism is there qua transaction, even for and from that transaction, you are a taxable person for that financial year. And this is talking for a personal. Say that means if I have a housemaid and I pay to a housemaid 5,000 a month, whether in that housemaid's hand 5,000 is taxable, it says some exemption will come. Else a problem can arise. And student importing software, maybe some exemption will come for his personal use, not in business. I for import for my profession, taxable. He also has a practice and charges fees. In GST, I think he will stop registering himself and his services will be free, which we can take it. Think, this is not the intention, but reading comes like this. Educational institutions and transporters are not excluded from the term taxable person. So now they are. So अभी तक चक्का जाम नहीं हुआ because उनको मालूम नहीं है कि हम cover हो गए. Right? So sometimes बोलते हैं ना कि take them in confidence. Better don't tell them else चक्का जाम will start. Fine. So this provision says central or state government may, again may. Now this may should I saw the may means GST Council will recommend, and whether to accept or not, every state government will decide. And there will be a chaos. So it will be a problem for me that there is no general law. Foreigners feel that, oh, now everything will be simple, business expand and all that. Complications will be expanded. We'll have a good practice. Notify certain categories of goods and supplies. So here the government has taken the power to notify certain categories of supply of goods and services on which the tax payable on reverse charge basis, right? Which today also is there, and RCB liable person shall be treated as taxable person, right? So they may want to give some exemption to lawyers and so I don't know. Corresponding exemption to the supplier shall be provided. See what happens, if I pay tax on reverse charge basis, the supplier should be made exempt to that. But it is not so, but it should be made, it may be made. Fine. Now this is power to grant exemption. So even the power to grant exemption is there in section 10. It says the government may in public interest on recommendation of GST notify certain goods to be exempt generally. Fine, no problem. It can be exemption wholly or partially. Fine. Second, by special order in each case exempt from payment of tax on goods or services under circumstances exceptional nature to be stated in such a, say there is a flood or some problem in some area, so there may be some exemption given qua that period and so on. The government may also insert an explanation in this notification to have effect of from a particular date and so on. Above notification shall be effective from the date of its issue unless otherwise provided. I think I doubted this, but I cannot deem it that it can be retrospective. But as it is an exemption provision, it may be from a retrospective date and so on. It will be put up on official website. The government may provide. Now this is a peculiar another section, remission of tax. Right. So what we all have understood in the BST regime, remission of interest. Right. So remission of tax powers are there. Government may provide by rules for remission of tax on such supplies which are found to be deficient in quantity due to any natural causes. Right. Above rule may fix the limit of percentage beyond which no such remission shall be. That means general evaporation loss and all that. So for that they have taken this power in storage and passage of time and all that. Peculiarity of a particular product. Right. Now these are certain issues listed out. I will not give answer to this because there can be 2-3 views. So my giving answer does not serve the purpose. Law is new. We have to read. We have to listen. We have to debate. Even this is a draft law, but park these questions for a final law to come and then we will answer there. But these are discount or incentive in kind. Free supply during warranty period. Gifting a shirt. I gift a shirt to my friend, whether supply, no consideration. But a businessman gifting a shirt to a supplier, think of that. So there's a difference. Donation or charity of goods. A natural calamity happened and every company came forward to give their goods, clothes, FMCG goods, pharmaceutical products for charity, treated as supply. Very important issue. Apparently answer is yes. Goods for repairs to a job worker, no. Goods given for installation. I have purchased my air conditioner and I call somebody and I say, here is an air conditioner, you install it. Is it supply from me to him? Technically yes, but legally no. It is with me only, I am not supplied. I am just providing it to fix. So all these issues will be there. Important is movement of goods, say laptops, promotional materials, furniture, stationery, uniforms from one branch to another. And if these branches are situated in other states, movement of capital goods or fixed assets, all this say dumpers, buses, aircrafts. When aircraft move from one state to another, I don't know what will happen. IGST will be applied. Free dessert in a restaurant. See, there is a scheme in a restaurant that if you have taken a meal per person more than 1,000 rupees, dessert will be free. And we 5 friends have gone, 5,600 bill is there and we are now getting dessert free. Whether now it is a supply from restaurant to me and this is a food, so a service. What value to be put to that dessert? Right? Free parking in a mall. As you have gone in a mall, if you show any purchase of goods or services, parking will not be charged. But nowadays everybody is charging parking, so this problem will not arise. Free advice or service, right? Problem. Even if I charge less, say let me not come in the clutches of the law. And I say, as I have given an opinion to my friend also or to my relative, let me charge him 10,000. They'll say, no. Similar opinion 2 days back on similar subject, you just copied that opinion to him you charged 1 lakh rupees. Why not I treat this transaction as value qua 1 lakh? Think on this. Services like, very important, inspection, marketing, management, branding, banking, audit, by corporate office to the factory and branch. Think of a company having the manufacturing units and locations in 5-7 different states, godowns in another 20 states, and having a single corporate office taking care of advertising, branding, and then just for some references they are dividing, debiting to their branches just for their internal purposes. What will happen? I don't know. That will be treated as supply and charge and all that. Audit is head office takes care of the audit and says all branches will be audited. All separate reports are also there, and finally once a merged report is there. But it will be treated as maybe corporate office giving services to the branch and all that. Well, it's all said and done, but we have professional opportunities. You accept the challenges, acquire knowledge like this debate. Opportunities across India is coming. New practitioners, a new law, a young practitioner can also master and marvel. It's not that, as Joshi sir said, every brain has got a nice talent, use it. So there will be a compliance, audit, litigation, business restructuring will be there. Right? Price fixation, discount schemes, and many things are there. You can render services in any field. Well, finally, thank you. Sorry for exceeding the time, but I thank the President and the team to give me this opportunity to share my views. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deepak bhai, for enlightening all of us on the basic provisions of GST, the concept of supply, and laying down a strong foundation for all of us as practitioners to understand the concept of supply, which is going to be the backbone of GST. And with this we feel that GST, goods and services tax, whether it will be really a genuinely smiling tax, GST, whether it will be really a genuinely smiling tax or not. I think that doubts are now getting created in our minds. I will now request Dharmen Shah to offer a very well-deserved vote of thanks.
Since Pranav said whether it will be a genuine and genuinely smiling tax, but with the last slide of Deepak bhai, it will definitely be a genuinely smiling tax for all of us. Coming to the pleasant task of vote of thanks, it was a pleasure to listen Deepak bhai. Deepak bhai, as the name suggests, has thrown light on the concept of supply in a very meticulous manner. He has explained us along with practical examples what difficulties are going to be faced in the future when GST is implemented. So on behalf of the association and everyone sitting here, I request everyone to carry Deepak bhai proudly.
Thank you very much, Deepak bhai, once again. I will now call upon our treasurer, Mr. Pradeep Kapadia, to please come on the dais for the next session.